Yeah, unbelievable. 22 years ago, the deadliest terrorist attack in American history. I can remember it every moment of that day. You probably can too. Families of the victims came together with the rest of the nation today as we mourn the tragedy of 9/11 and the death and destruction that we will never be able to shake. Here's a look back at some of the tragic events from that day.
I am in a situation where Americans learned a possible hijack.
What's going on, Betty? The crap is erratic again. Problems very erratic.
We have some problems over here right now. We might have a hijack over here, two of them.
Hi, babe.
What are those people going to do? All the elevators are blocked out.
I'm on the 83rd floor. I'm going to die, aren't I? No. I'm going to die. Ma'am, say your prayers. We're going to think positive because you got to help each other get off the floor. Now. Die.
A new type of war. That's what it is.
Nearly 3,000 people killed because of extreme Islamic jihadists. Innocent American lives lost at the Pentagon, too, at the World Trade Center, and, of course, Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Joining me live now are correspondents Tara Dahl and David Zier, both at Ground Zero. Guys, every time I'm at Ground Zero, it's especially poignant, but today it's always even more emotional, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very somber day here in New York City in Lower Manhattan as we honor and remember the fallen. And I think it's important to note, too, that a lot of times it gets lost on Americans that more people have died from post 9/11 illnesses than that died on that day. For example, there was 343 firefighters that were killed on 9/11. 341 have died from post 9/11 illnesses. Or policemen, 23 policemen were killed on 9/11, but 37 have died from post 9/11 illnesses. And so when we were talking to people out on the streets today, Steve, it's a day that will always impact them. There was an example, we were talking to a firefighter, and he just found out last week that he was diagnosed with lung cancer from serving here on the ground in 9/11. And so the impact that those that responded, those that of the families, 2,000 children that day lost their parents. And there's 1,000 human remains that are still not identified. And so this is still going on. They're still not getting the support that they need from Congress. And that was something that just really stuck out to me today, being here.
And David, what do you say when you've been your life is in New York, your life is there, Ground Zero? What are your reflections this day?
Well, like Tara said, 40% of the bodies have not been identified yet, over 1,000 people. These families don't have closure, and it makes it worse. Biden didn't come today. George Pataki said, the former governor of New York who was on the scene on 9/11, said that Biden's afraid they're going to ask him about the illegal immigration. And it's just a segue into my conversations with people on the ground today. I ran into one of my very good friends, John Owens, who lost his brother Pete, whose brother worked for me for 15 years, died in 9/11 tragically. And he's saying that he doesn't feel safe. 110,000 illegals on the ground here in New York. None of them are vetted. They're from Senegal, Mauritania, Africa, West Africa, all these countries. They're not from war-torn refugee status type countries. They're coming here to game the system. But how many of them might work for Al-Shabaab or might work for other networks on the ground in Africa or Muslim networks? We don't know. And we know about the people being arrested at the border. So their point is, to me, is that they're uncomfortable, and maybe more than ever. And maybe they can't carry it out an attack on the scale of 9/11. But even a guy, with a machete on a subway, or 3 guys, and they kill 20 people, that's just as tragic. And those are the attacks we saw after 9/11, where after that we didn't have major attacks on our soil like 9/11, but we had a lot of lone wolfers. The Times Square bomber put the fuse in backwards in Times Square when a mounted cop named Wayne Radigan, who I interviewed, saw the smoking device in the back of his Nissan
Sure.
Pathfinder, and maybe saved a lot of lives. So, this might be the future for New York, because I don't know how we fix this.
Yeah. It's a difficult time for New York. You're right about that, David. Tara, David, thank you for being here. I know you're going to be around for the rest of the day in there in New York as well. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you, Steve.
All right. Up after the break, Jennifer Sand will join me to talk about how 9/11 challenged her to faith and how she managed to find God through the chaos of it all, through loss and heartbreak. Stick around for an amazing story on America's Voice Live.